All right, so I've created this slideshow here for you just to kind of help you get some different ideas for what you might be incorporating. This, of course, is not exhaustible by no means. This is just kind of a start. There are lots of other areas that you can do your research to get ideas of things that you can put and design into the park. So, but I just wanted to kind of bring some of these to your attention. They are by themselves architectural accomplishments in larger cities. Of course, Monticello is a small city, but we still have some things that are very significant to architecture. So I'll bring those in too. But I just want to kind of walk you through this as far as how and where you can find different inspiration. So it comes from all over the place, of course. So here, of course, is a slide with some pictures for Millennium Park in Chicago. I've given you a couple of resources that you can go to and find out and research some more on that and how that came about. So, of course, Central Park in New York City. I've been there several times as well. Last time I have some pictures of the Alice in Wonderland statue. Of course, I've walked all over. It is a very, very large park. So it's not a Central Park is not a park that you're going to be able to visit and see everything in a day because of the size. You'd definitely be worn out if you were to walk the entire park. So Forest Park down in St. Louis, some of you may have been there. That is also a wonderful park to go and visit. So you got a little map there and some resources for design elements that you might incorporate. Again, there's fountains, there's bridges, there's gazebos, as well as the different recreational parks. In the case of Forest Park, there's a lake and there's boating activities, there's restaurants in there. All of those things would accommodate the larger city that wouldn't necessarily apply to us here in Monticello. But again, you can get some inspiration for your ideas as you start to develop your own designs. So here's the Louvre in Paris. Now, I have never been there myself. My wife and daughter did get to go to Paris a few summers ago. So it's one of those places. There's some information there for you. Of course, while I didn't highlight this, the Eiffel Tower and the park that surrounds the Eiffel Tower, you might look into some of that for potential source ideas as well, going to someplace that's not in the US. Space Needle out in Seattle, Washington. My family and I did get to go to there and get to view that. It is really, really interesting. The history behind that is fascinating on how that came about. So you might want to consider some of the stuff there to look at. And then this just gives you some a source to go to different types of parks around the world. So you can kind of see things that are done in other areas as well. So maybe you want to incorporate things from Bangladesh or parks in Tokyo and might want to bring some of that in. So this might give you a lead to kind of go through and follow up and then go even farther into your research on other areas of the world. Incorporating those too. And of course, I had mentioned before Monticello's Jefferson or Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. So I went ahead and put this in here so you can go ahead and do some research on Monticello. Of course, lots of buildings are designed by the classical revival here of Thomas Jefferson's Monticello and the architecture. He himself loved architecture and did quite a bit of architectural work himself. So you can kind of read up on that in one of the articles there if you'd like. And as well, famous parks here in Monticello, we of course have Allerton Park and Lodge Park. Allerton, of course, is most famous, very, very architecturally significant. Again, Georgian revival, classical architecture, the inclusion of formal gardens, statuary, gazebos. Is that something that belongs in our 30-acre rec park? That's for you to decide and figure out how you want to plan that out and put that into it. The father of landscape architects as Frederick Law Olmsted. So this gives you some information on him and his design ideas. So I would go ahead, this Eye of the Day. This is a good article to read on the design principles of Frederick Law Olmsted. So I highly suggest that you go ahead and read those to kind of maybe help you with your design ideas and how you want to place that. But he's a very fascinating architect to kind of get to know and understand. And then, of course, I had mentioned about futurist ideas. What does our town, our city hold in 20 years? You know, I grew up here. Our town looks a little bit different today than it did when I was growing up. There's certainly a lot more housing around and the housing developments that have grown up around the outskirts of the town. But what else can be incorporated into this? This is a recreational park. Of course, it's going to be built at some point, and it's going to last many, many years and be there for residents for many, many years to come. So kind of think about that. What look do you want this park to have in 20 years? How do you want that to be maintained over time? So what is your mark going to be, and what are you going to say about it 20 years down the road from now when you come back and see how this park is being used? So all of those are just a start to help you get some research done today, and get some ideas of things to incorporate into your park design as you go. So again, you guys have a good weekend. Spend some time, really think about this. Research, research, research. This is part of becoming an architect, part of that whole creativity and design aspects there, to get to know what you need to in order to be able to design effectively as an architect. So have a good weekend. We will talk with you later.